Thanks,
Uh,
Wes.
our next presenter is Nick Kanas, Dr. Nick Kanas. Nick is a semi, I don't know whether it's semi or less than semi or more than semi-retired psychiatrist, was a faculty of UCSF, and continues, I believe, with his practice at the Veterans Hospital in San Francisco. Nick is an authority on celestial maps. He has lectured extensively on them. He's written 3 books. He has a great collection. He's been a host for the Bay Area Map Group at his home twice. He is very involved in the English Map Society and etc. He was a featured speaker, as I remember, at the one of the National Geographic, the Royal Geographic Society meeting. Nick also collects, what do you call those other maps? I'm blocking, Nick. Pictorials, yes, and he gave us a wonderful lecture on the pictorials at his home a while back. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, thank you, Len. Thank you for your kind words. Well, I'm going to talk about a terrestrial pictorials today. Pictorials are getting very popular. If you notice Barry Rudderman's, for example, follow along his website, you'll see more and more pictorials appearing. And in the last 4 or 5 years, they've been a kind of very collectible, since most were done in the last century, early mid-1900s. Okay, the next, so I'm going to talk about a new kind of pictorial today. Next slide. So these are the definitions of what they are. Basically, they're maps that focus more on artistry than accuracy, to appeal to emotion than cognition. They often include humorous or satirical material, feature landmarks and scale variations, as well as a variety of text. So you see text of one kind and another appearing on the same map. They're often populated by fantastic or real creatures and employ bright cartoonish colors. So there's a kind of a map especially popularized in the early 1900s, but actually with roots going way back. You recall some of the early maps of monsters in the ocean could be seen as early kinds of elements of pictorials. Next slide. A wonderful book by Stephen Hornsby, Picturing America, the Golden Age of Pictorial Maps. Anyone interested in terrestrial pictorials, I strongly recommend this book. Really is very good. And I use, next slide, his classification system, which is that pictorials have a number of categories. Some were intended to, the reason for them was to amuse us, to be funny, some to instruct us, some industry showing different maps, for example, of America. Different companies had different corporate centers, and they would show that. During World War II, they were used often in newspapers to show troop movements in the Pacific Ocean especially. Maps of post-war America, another category. And of relevance today, maps of place and region. We've seen some of those actually today. Some of Jim Shine's maps that he showed of the Chinatown could have had pictorial elements. And I think the idea was to show a region, and often it's an area of publicity, of showing the highlights of an area, a city, what's it famous, come visit us was the intent, and that's what this was. The map I'm going to show at the end of today is what I'm calling Maps Celebrating Cultural Diversity and Unity, where the purpose of the map is not to get you to come there, but to unify a region that is created by various features together, and I'll explain that in a second. So the next slide is a classical map of an area. This is the Daily Telegraph picture map of London, circa 1950. And what we see here, this is published by the Daily Telegraph newspaper and Geographia Limited. It depicts people, places of interest, boroughs, and streets of the city using bright colors, varied fonts, if you see the different kinds of fonts that are used, expanded images of important buildings. So for example, in the right, you see right there, St. Paul's Cathedral. Highly stylized, but I mean, actually not terribly stylized, but highly eminent and large to show you, to highlight this feature. And to the right, lower right, you see the Tower of London, also another area to come and visit. To the left of the map, left and upper part of the map, if you can scan over there.
Hold on a
I
second.
got it. I got it.
Where do you want me to go, Nick?
Upper left,
Okay.
you see right by the park, you see Madame Tussauds Museum, and right there you see elements from that. So it shows again near Regent's Park, that museum. And then go a little bit to the right, keep going to the right. Right there in the middle, you see a skeleton of an animal to highlight the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. So these are different elements and tourist attractions in London to come and visit. If I can have an out map of the whole picture of the whole thing, and rimming the whole thing are people doing things that they do in London, circa late 1940s. You see people walking. There's a Scotsman there. You see people dressed in clothing that's similar of the times. So this map was meant to advertise London as a tourist destination, showing the highlights of what the people do, but mainly the tourist attractions. Okay, the next slide. This is the last one. This is a slide I really want to show. This is entitled A Cultural Map of Southeast San Francisco. Len pointed out to me, I had not noticed this, but it's obvious, it looks like a lion. And the image is highlighted, is actually created by the map makers to illustrate a point about the cultural diversity in that region of the city. There are the 4 regions that are known to most of us who live here: Portola, Excelsior District, Visitation Valley, and Bayview's Hunters Point. But the creators of this map decided to create a map because what unifies these 4 areas is the roots culturally of the area. This is an area of Black, white, Asian, and Latinos, but basically working class neighborhoods. And that's what unites this region of the city. It's a creation of the map designers to illustrate a point that in this diversity, we're kind of one people based on cultural roots, especially socioeconomic roots. So you see that what's here, unlike the map you saw earlier, if I could have an outward view again of the total map, to the left, and you can zoom in on the left, you have the sites that are highlighted. Sites like the locations of, you see the Croatian American Cultural Center, the Filipino Community Center, Balboa High School. And then to the middle, the back of the lion, go up a bit, you'll see sites such as Avenue Theater and the Neighborhood Association. These are actual places that exist today of interest to the people who live there, not to us as tourists potentially coming to the region. To the right above the head, you'll see a Hunters Point uprising of 1966. You'll see a gallery, Joy Gallery, down to the left of the bird. Again, highlighting a region to see. The map is reasonably accurate, but there aren't a lot of street names, but the main streets are there, but the places are there, so that if you live there, you know where they are, and you can find them, not as a tourist coming into the region. Above, you'll see an interesting feature if you zoom out. To the left, add your own. Look at the left right there, add your own. So this provides people getting this map, which is, by the way, provided free to anybody who asks, to add their own sites. And so it's meant to kind of get the people in the area to add their own. This is from a map that's 11 by 17 inch print. They also published 4.5 by 5.5 canvas prints they did distribute to the local schools and universities, where they can put up their own little sites that they're interested in seeing in that community that the map is displaced. Up at the upper left, well, you see a bus.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
A moving art house. The people that you go down again where you were. Just go down a little bit. I want to get the name in right above this bus. So Kate Connell and Oscar Malara, who are a pair, a couple, and Sophia Aragi made the map. They're artists in the region. A lot of artists have gravitated to this part of the city because it's relatively inexpensive, relative. And around the rim, you'll see lists of artist names of the region. But the people on the upper left show it, and they have a bus, and it goes around showing artwork that you saw to the left. in that district. Children's drawings drawn by school children, and around the periphery, you'll see what people do in this region. A guy bowling, down to the right, go down, 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 down. You can extend it outward a little bit. Not so blown up.
Down in the picture.
I'm sorry, where do you want to go, Nick?
Down at the bottom, you see people who live there. They're playing guitars, they're riding bikes, they're doing things that they do in the region. So the intent of this map is to encourage the citizens of the area to feel civic pride and embrace their cultural diversity. So the map is created. I want to read something here from the people who did it. The map is created through participatory mapping. It's built together with residents of Southeast San Francisco whose ideas are added to the map in successive editions. This is a 2017 edition. It has the two sizes I mentioned. Real locations of interest to the locals are shown. So this is a map that is a live map, a living map, designed to get the community organized and together and to show the kinds of activities in this community. So that's my presentation, cultural map of Southeast San Francisco. And it says, can we build a collective cultural life together?
Yeah.
Very nice. I'm sure they must have gotten the idea from the Dutch maps of the 17th century. There's a whole series of lion maps describing the Netherlands.
Yeah, probably not. They probably did it de novo, because these are not map people, they're artists. Although I learned about this from the International Society for the History of the Map, which is scandal prone for many years about who's in charge and this and that. Got their act together, and they had an online meeting a couple months ago. Very nice. These people presented about a 25-minute presentation, largely about their community efforts, but then showed this map, and it was very, very interesting. I'm in contact with them, and it might be something they could present to us at some point. The last slide is a little bit of a plug of my book, the latest edition of Star Maps. Despite the name, there is two new chapters, one of which is on pictorials and includes a lot about terrestrial pictorials. There's not a lot written about pictorial maps, but I think they're becoming in vogue, and there should be more and more down in the future.
I have an idea. I think there was 1, 2, 3 people who were plugging their books, and perhaps you'd like to buy an ad in Calafia.
Only if everybody buys the book and we get some money. I mean, so far.
You got to take a risk. Buy the ad.
This is the publisher speaking. Yes, please.
Very nice, Nick. Thank you very much.
By the way, can I have a picture of me? This is the map. If you want it,
Nice.
this is the map that this picture is taken from. If you all want one, it's free. Just Google Book and Wheel, BOOKANDWHEEL, and that's the group. And on their website, you can probably request one of these maps.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. The next